Hi everybody, this is Alchemist 2, and I know it's late, but I thought, why not? I'm back again with another book review. Recently, I finished reading Deepak Chopra's and Leonard Maldonado book, The Worldviews, and honestly, I consider myself a rather intelligent being, and going through this book, there are many times I was just holding my head thinking, oh my gosh, are you nuts? These are really heady philosophical questions and ideas that you are posing here. But both of the worldviews, in the way that they discuss these different ideas, they're very eloquent and elegant. Um, the questions posed here in part 2 is how did the universe emerge? Is the universe conscious? Is the universe evolving? What is the nature of time? Wibbly wobbly timey wimey. No, sorry. Is the universe alive? What is life? Is there design in the universe? What makes us human? How do genes work? Did Darwin go wrong? What is the connection between mind and brain? Does the brain dictate behavior? Is the brain like a computer? Is the universe thinking through us? Yeah, even deeper. Is God an illusion? What is the future of belief? Is there a fundamental reality? And then epilogue. Now, it talks about computers, and they talk about Deep Blue and how Deep Blue defeated a well-renowned chess player, and also Watson, which I think a friend of mine would be very interested in because she's obsessed with Watson. It's really fascinating, I think, and all these different topics that Deepak and Leonard discuss are just baffling to me. I was sitting there and I was thinking, I wish I had a bigger head, because there are a lot of these ideas that, as a burgeoning philosopher, I fail to completely grasp. My knowledge of all these subjects, particularly that of particle physics and string theory, is very rudimentary at best. But I agree with the fact that the universe is conscious. I don't have any proof of that in and of itself, but I agree with what Deepak says about the universe having that quality of Leela, as is known in Sanskrit, or the playfulness of the universe, the whole creativity of it and of itself. And one thing I really enjoy about Leonard's take on the universe itself is if when the universe expanded from the Big Bang, it could have taken upon a very different pattern. It could have taken a kind of a saddle shape, which it didn't. In fact, the expansion is what made it unilateral, for what we, for lack of better terminology, with our very limited English vocabulary for what we can deem with terms and define. Uh, Nature of time fascinated me. They say that the infinite itself is where it's nothingness, basically. Well, there are things within that nothingness, and they talk about that. They talk about how life can be seen in inanimate objects because everything comes from the source of the Big Bang. We're basically we're all part of the cosmos. We're all made of stardust, as Carlos Sagan said. I agree with that. Um, there is design in the universe, I feel. It can all be quantified by. They have the equations in here for that, and I can't even begin to comprehend that. They have the Higgs boson thing, which was mentioned in the show The Big Bang Theory. Of coincidence? I think so. But it's all very interesting and very complex, and there were many things I just sat and puzzled over and just held my head just in pain, because it's just a lot to take in, and this is not meant for the person who doesn't have any knowledge of physics itself, let alone these grandiose ideas. Um, Deepak, he also speaks of how religion itself is not the answer. It's more spirituality, which I absolutely agree with. I just think that when we try to define things, it limits us, and that's the whole thing that he speaks of. And I know the way in which this is written is very, very difficult, and it's extremely challenging, but it's really a absolutely splendid, marvelous read. And it just proves different things that have always thought of to be true. And it even talks about one of my favorite atheists of all time, which would be Dr. Richard Dawkins, and I have so much respect for him, because I just think that he's absolutely brilliant. He co-authored the term "a selfish gene," and he said he would like to rename that, and he called it the cooperative gene. And Leonard speaks on that in more concise terms, being that it can be both selfish and cooperative, just because it's like Schrodinger's cat, that whole theory, which I talked about before with Hack Quantum. And there was a part here that perspective, which all of our perspectives are different, since we are all different in and of ourselves. Our DNA is basically a similar sequence. Oh, it talks about telomeres, which I thought, oh, I loved that part, because I know a little bit about telomeres, having studied biopharm back in summer. We hit on telomeres, but we didn't really go into detail, because that's microbiology, and then you're getting into teeny tiny, eensy weensy, itty bitty, minuscule particles that you can only see through an electron microscope. And then you get into really vast amounts of information that is just unbelievably complicated and complex. But they say that telomeres are the essence of understanding genes, and actually of aging in and of itself, and that positive perspectives can actually lengthen telomeres. And they say, how can telomeres understand time, quote unquote? They're not really sure how they have a clock, but apparently they do. And it's just one of those questions that science or religion, they just can't really answer in and of, but they do know that it happens, and that it exists, and it does what it's supposed to do, which is just determine how long we are meant to exist. And there's order. There's order to this. We have order and chaos existing as simultaneously, which, just again, my brain. But it's just very, very, very involved. And yeah, it was kind of difficult for me to mull it all over, and I'll probably have to read it again, but it was definitely well worth a read, and absolutely fascinating. I just thought it was terrific, and I didn't have a chance to do what I really wanted to do today, but it doesn't really matter. Someday I will be able to see the Avengers like I wanted to, but reading this book was well worth my time, and it expanded my perspective as a burgeoning philosopher and a metaphysicist. It's just incredible, I think. And I can also say I'm a scientist as well. Because all those views, I think they each have something to offer us, and they're all very reassuring in and of themselves. And I don't feel that science is at war with spirituality. I think that they're becoming closer and closer. And way back in the Renaissance, they were indistinguishable because of alchemy. And I think we're going back to that, which I think is really wonderful. I think it's magnificent. That this is extraordinary, and it's a new way of understanding. And I'm I'm recommending the book to those who have studied the particle physics and molecular biology, artificial intelligence. It gets into some pretty darn heady philosophical stuff. And even for me, it's really a challenge, and I will have to read it again. But it's definitely a book you can get into and sink your teeth into, so as it were, get those neurons firing. Um, it's completely fascinating, and actually, it talks about neuroplasticity. I mean, there's so many different topics in here. In and of themselves, they would take forever to discuss. So, you know, if there are people out there that would do that, I would love that to hear their perspective, and maybe I could understand it a little bit better, because I'm still scratching my head and holding it. Ugh, quite a bit. Even despite that, I love stuff like this because I adore being challenged, and I'm probably going to have to reread the book, but it's going to be worth it when I can completely get it. But for now, I just understand what I understand, and to put it in the most simplest terms, it is what it is, and that's all I need to know. And I can be reassured by that, and knowing that that in and of itself is all I need to understand.